that's from that meditation, that he wasn't allowed to teach anybody for 60 years, and the 60 years was up when he came down to see Master O. But just exactly right. So these, see, this is the real art, and the real stuff, not the stuff that people change, modify, and anybody is good. There's a lot of students I wish I could have had that were in different styles here, because they were good students, but they didn't have good instruction.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be either pacified or they didn't get what they deserved, and that's sad. Even people in the same schools, we had 7 schools, a lot of these people start using their own ego. Like Master Ko said, the worst karate disease is arrogance. It's a disease. And they don't have it. They are, very humble people.
The worst disease, karate disease, is arrogance.
Yeah. You got, I've seen people from all different styles, and like I said, knew their style because I was in it a short period of time to learn some of the maneuvers, and they were ridiculous. You had to block this guy coming in, and that guy coming in, and then this guy come in, and you could kick him. So they don't do that. It's not going to work like that. And that was, for the day, it was phenomenal,
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it's not beautiful. Yeah.
Master Wasil, who were Master Ong's original students, the original group? Yourself, Master Keen, who else trained with you? Who was the original group?
Well, there was, originally Shikoy was there, but
Okay.
he was out. And then Bob Kruger,
Yeah,
he passed away.
sorry to hear that.
And then there was John Rayburn, and he went into the FBI. And these are guys that actually made black belt. He taught us. It was just 10, because the master usually teaches 10. And some of those guys, when I was up in Cleveland, and he had me teach up there, and he was teaching before that. I brought down a lot of people that that made rank. But there weren't a whole lot of people, but they were very unique. And a lot of people said, yeah, I trained with Master O because they went to Master O school. He probably was in there. He might have trained them a few minutes, but he didn't train them. These people were trained and trained right. And there was Roger Knopf, he was a state highway patrolman. And there was a John Falk. These are the ones that made rank and were in his class. Could be in his class because those are the people that had the rank and the ability to be in it. Now, some of the people that were in there illegally because Chicoine had taught them, and they were deniers, and they came over, and Master O felt sorry for them. He said, I have other students I would rather have than you, but since you got cheated by him, then it's my fault, because I trained him, I will treat you. And they were just like you. Horrible. Not loyal, just arrogant, pretended they were some kind of movie stars. You name it. You don't do that. The art is art. It's not to be used for anything but your protection, your family. That's it. That's where our government should be, by the way. They were put here under the Constitution for one reason only: to protect your life, your happiness, take your money, not to give you a death tax when you die, not to take away your home and your jobs and you know, and pretend to be your, it's for your social good. That's terrible. It's a horrible way for Americans to live.
Master Wasil, these are some names I've heard over the years. Let's see. Does Master Ong's son, Stephen Ong, still teach?
I have no idea because him and I did not agree because he tried to start his own school when he was truly not in his dad's class.
Okay.
How could he? He was a teenager. And I felt sorry for him, so I let him have the art because he thought it belonged to him because he was the son. And then when he did not follow his dad's footsteps, I just took back over it.
Oh.
He did what he does, and I do what I do.
Okay.
And I still have no bad feelings at all because I knew them when they were children.
Sure.
To me, they were like my grandkids, you know. And that's the way I was taught. And the daughters, and of course Master Og, his wife, you know, Claude, we were family until he became the master Kosa. You know, thought he was the person. But the last I heard, he was not teaching anybody, but maybe somebody he might teach independently. I don't know.
Is Mr. Bob Keene still teaching?
He's, as far as I know,
Okay.
as far as I know, because I've talked to some of the people that know him or students that were there before.
And I've also heard of, I don't know if it's John Allen or Rick Allen.
Oh, Rick
or...
Allen, oh my gosh. He's a trip. He claims to be so good and claims all his rank and claims that so he was the Green Dragon that when I first met him, when we started the school, he came in and claimed to be want to learn this style. But this style, he had not learned. He was like a first or second degree black in Ishiguro.
Okay.
And he didn't tell anybody. And when he got in here, he thought he'd get this and go back and he'd be even better than he was. Well, when he came here, he couldn't do the art like the regular guys could because he would have migraine headaches, or I can't do the stance because it gives me a headache, and then Master Og would, you know, allow him to learn, and he would get the tokens, he would do good, and then he started doing things that were for himself, and claiming how great he was, and he was trying to find another Chinese guy that was better than Master Og, which was ridiculous. He says, yeah, there's this guy, Tarzan Young from Cleveland. He's better than Master Og and this and that.
And the guy's name was Tarzan?
Yeah. And I said, I know Tarzan Young. He came to see Master Og. And he had a big guy with him that killed a guy in a street fight. And he asked my instructor, he says, you don't look like you could, you're that bad. And Master Og just looked at him real calm and he said, that's what they say. I thought this guy broke out in sweat. He was that frightened because his instructor told him, he said, I could kill you and he could kill me. You apologize right now.
Wow.
And he did. And I was there because he was that bad. He could be there and he could fly here.
And I'm sorry, where, when Stephen Ong started teaching, where did he teach? Was it a church, a school?
No, we were at, we started teaching at Colonial Aids, We had a guy there that was a financier that, you know,
Okay.
and
Is that the bowling alley on?
it was a bowling alley, but it was a brand new building built next to it in the back.
Okay.
We were back there. We had school there. Then he went to there was a guy that had a house in Copley, and we were there for a year and a half. He was a contractor. And then Master Ong decided he wanted to move to his house, his home. So he taught 10 of us. And did he teach us just like the temple? And
that was at his own house that he taught you?
Yeah. And then, as soon as he got enough money, he opened a school in Barberton, and that's where I started teaching for him there. Then I started my first school in up in Cleveland.
Oh, you started teaching in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a weightlifters place.
Yeah.
We had weightlifting. And these guys would come down to me and they said, what could you do to me? This guy was Mr. Ohio. I said, well, if I hit your stomach, they'd have to operate on your spine. Does that make any sense? Because I was with my fiance, I didn't like it. So he was upset, but he just moved out of the way. And I told my instructor, he says, the next time he makes any overture, he said, take him out. So this guy was huge. I mean, he could lift up weights and all, everything. And I'm walking through there, and I had to go from here to almost across the street, because this place was big, to open the lights, and I would teach on the stage on the other side, where I just came from. Because I had to go up there, and there's balconies on both sides. Must have been a big theater at one time. And this guy yelled like he was going to jump me, and they had mirrors on the wall. And I spun and went towards him. He was so afraid, he hit the mirror and broke it on the wall. He went over and told the owner I attacked him. With no provocation. And I told him the true story, and he said, well, these are guys, that's my living, we gotta get along and stuff like that. So I taught a bunch of girls then some jiu-jitsu, because that was the first art, by the way.
Okay.
That was the first art before any other art.
Okay. And who was your jiu-jitsu teacher?
Master Ong.
Oh, okay.
Of course. First judo, then we learned the jiu-jitsu. And then we learned the kung fu. What does kung fu mean to you when you hear somebody say kung fu? What do you
Practice
think of
to
that?
perfection.
Right. It's not martial arts. You go to China and you say, I'm kung fu. They say, what? Bowling? Underwater basket weaving? What is it? It means expert.
Was Don Nime ever a part of your group?
He was a part of the class,
Okay.
but he was never the class,
Oh.
because he came for the same reason from Chicoine,
Oh, okay.
who,
Oh, I didn't know he started with him.
oh yeah,
Okay.
that's how he got in there. That's why he allowed them to be in there.
Okay.
And
So
because-
Don started with Chicoine and then went to
Yeah,
Ong.
Don and Ed. Yeah.
And Ed. Who's Ed?
The Knights.
Oh, Ed Nime. Okay, I didn't know he had a brother. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, his brother was a police detective. Or
Okay. Okay.
something.
And what about Mr. Richard or Dick Pitts?
Oh, before Dick Pitts, we were talking about Rick Allen,
Ah, okay.
and I had to do a couple things to straighten him out, because he was always trying to do something to screw up the art. Here, I found out later he was in the other art, and I said, if you were an instructor and a big wig in the other art, what are you doing in this art? When he wasn't even a green belt yet. He says, how would it be if I wound up going over there and going up the rank and being, 5th or 6th degree, and a green belt from their school could kick my ass in the street. That's the reason he was there, which is no reason to be there.
Mm.
You know, you are what you are. Because there was a good guy there that I knew that was in another art, and they were fighting, and he got his ribs broke, and he couldn't fight for years.
Yeah.
And later he came here, and I was able to help him with his problem, and he became a pretty good student. But with that, and then Dick Pitts had a lot of problems. He was a kid that had everything made for him in life, and really, his dad owned the tire company, they owned the golf course, and he got mixed up with the drugs.
Mm. I've heard
Hell
of
of a fighter,
Yeah.
hell of a good guy, would do anything for anybody if he was your friend. The toughest nails, but just had that, what do you want to say?
Yep.
Wrong way.
And these are names I've heard of Kuan Yin Do's schools. I looked on the internet and tried to write some down. Ying Sing, Wan Sing, Ho Sing, Hao
Wasil
Sing.
was Al DeFeo.
Al DeFeo.
Yeah, he was in there. He was a student. I started off when he was 49 years old and became a master of the art. And he had his kids. I taught his kids. They were all wrestlers, good wrestlers.
Okay. And his school was the Ho Sing or the
Wasil.
Wasing?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, see, you know, the real art is so fascinating. Here I am, at my age, still learning, still doing, still fascinated with life. And people I know that I worked with in the trades,